Alright, in this review, we will be taking a look at the HTC 8X. Now this is actually one of my first experiences with a Windows 8 phone, so I will be giving some first impressions. We'll be taking a look at the device and just giving some first impressions about the phone. Alright, so the first thing that you will notice about the device is the rather odd color scheme. You have this sort of indigo blue along the back. It's a slightly rubberized finish as well. And it has this kind of odd bevel along the edge. Then you of course have the gloss black here surrounding the screen. So it's a very colorful device, very unique actually. And you have your back button, the Windows button, and the search button located right across the bottom right there. Here we have the front-facing camera, the speaker, and here along the side we have our volume rocker, as well as the camera button. And on the top of the device we have a lock and power button, as well as our headset jack. And we just have nothing here on the left side, with a charging port on the bottom. It has a very solid feel in the hand, it really does. However, I'm not a big fan of this sort of beveled edge. It almost feels like there's a cover on the phone or something. And also the screen seems to be somewhat small given the footprint of the phone. In comparison to my Motorola Droid Razr M, you can see the bevel along the edge is much smaller, especially on the top and bottom. So you have a screen that's only slightly smaller, but the actual footprint of the device is significantly smaller, and you definitely feel the difference when you're using the phone and also taking it in and out of your pocket. Taking a look at the lock screen of the phone, you can see it's rather unique. It has this sort of graphic here, and it will change depending on what the weather is, but right now it's just this kind of abstract design. Have a large clock, as well as the date, which is also very large. If we just simply slide that up, we come to the home screen, which is why I have these two other phones here as well. You can see on the BlackBerry, the home screen has a nice background, although it's kind of minimalistic in size. You do have a small row of icons along the bottom, which you can easily expand. There are also various tabbed sections. And that brings us to the Android operating system. As you can see, in comparison to Windows Phone, there's a lot more real estate for a background, and you can have the icons and widgets wherever you want, which is very cool. So, like this one here is completely filled. I have the Drive app, calendar, just various other tools, as well as apps. Over here I have hardly anything. I have a clock, my app for Trello, and that's about it. So you can see I have multiple pages here. You can add a page, you can remove a page, and it's very customizable. Now if we come back over to the Windows Phone, you can see it's very app-orientated. There's absolutely no background at all, and it's completely filled with what Microsoft calls tiles. Now if you hold down on one of them, you can change the size, you can remove it, you can just do a lot of customization with it. So each one is a shortcut to an app, and if we slide over here like that, you have a list of all the apps installed on the phone, which is very cool. And also just holding it down brings up various options. For this one, all we have is the option to pin it to the start menu. So if we just go ahead and do that, you can see it just kind of drops it down there in the bottom. So just a very neat home screen, and once again it's very unique. And just hitting the Windows button there brings us right back to that home screen. Alright, next up here in the review of the HTC 8X, we'll be taking a look at the keyboard. So we'll just go into messaging real quick. You can see there's no messages here. You do have just threads, as well as online messaging, where you'd have like a Facebook or something of that nature. So to add a text message, you just tap on the plus button there along the bottom of the screen. You can see it brings up a menu that's actually very similar to Android. If I just bring up the text messaging app here on my Android phone, you can see just the layout is very similar. You have the recipient there, the message there, And then also just a very Android-like keyboard as well. Right, so I'm just going to do a quick test of the keyboard here just so you can see what it's like while typing. And as you can see, the keys are very tall, a little bit narrow, but if we compare it to an actual physical keyboard here, you can see there's quite a big difference. I mean, the keys are actually larger, there's a little bit more space in between, and in general, this just feels very cramped when you're typing. So we'll go ahead and just type a quick message here. You can see it does give a few spelling suggestions along the top, just like it does on an Android phone, which is very cool. One thing I really like. And in terms of speed, I actually timed it against the physical keyboard on this BlackBerry, and BlackBerries are always known for having great keyboards and just being great phones for messaging. However, I was actually significantly faster with the Windows 8 phone, and just had a much better feel. It was just less cramped on the keyboard itself, and just much easier to actually determine what I was spelling out. So that was actually very impressive. Okay, now we'll just take a quick look at the internet browser here on the HTC 8X. I will not be doing any comparison tests, mainly because the closest competitor I have to this device, which is my Motorola Droid Razr M, is on Verizon, and this is on AT&T, so it's not really a true apples to apples test. We'll just open up Internet Explorer here. You can see the address bar is along the bottom, which is kind of different. If you're used to Google Chrome here on the Android device, you can see the address bar is along the top. So it's a little bit different there. But we'll just go ahead and type in www.hondacars.com. You do see there is a designated .com button, which is quite nice, very handy. And we'll see it loads up pretty quickly, actually. This is not the mobile site. This is the full site. It's very quick to zoom and just kind of pan around, so that is actually very nice. I'll just click here on Future Vehicles and Concepts. You can see, once again, it loads up very quickly, and I love just the way it's so easy and effortless to scroll around on here. It's actually pretty impressive for a Windows phone. I was not expecting it to be quite this good. So, actually a very nice browser here on the Windows phone. And we'll just try one other site here. Actually, we'll do a search. And just typing right in there to the address bar brings us up a Bing search. You can see we have a nice display of the results here, although it does look a bit kind of crammed together. Swipe over for images. Brings up loads of images here. Swipe over again for videos. And then we go back to the web search. Okay, and lastly, we'll just quickly look at the Maps application here. So straight away, one thing that's different from Google Maps on the Android phone is there's no search bar. You have to just click down here on the search button itself. And just type in Normal, Illinois. Comes up pretty quickly with the results. And I love the way you zoom on it. However, you can't rotate the map like you can on the Android phone. You can only zoom, but it's not a big deal to me personally. You can see it navigates around very quickly, very smoothly. There's a little bit of lag, but it's really not bad at all. So this is actually quite impressive. Much better than I was expecting it to be, really. You do also have directions, of course. We can have various other options here as well, so it's very cool. Okay, so I know that wasn't a very detailed review, but I just wanted to give some first impressions on the actual Windows Phone 8 experience, as well as this HTC 8X phone. It's a pretty solid phone, actually. Kind of an odd feel just with the beveling. And I don't like the buttons on the side and top. They're just kind of difficult to actually feel when you're pressing it. But it's a very unique operating system, and I like the live tiles, even though I do like the background that I can have on my Android phone. So like I said, it's just very different. It's kind of refreshing to use it, but at the same time, I'm not sure I'd want to have it every day. I'd definitely choose either an iPhone or some kind of Android device over this phone. But if you're able to get a good deal on one, I'd say go for it. It really is a decent device, especially if you're not much into apps, because the Windows App Store doesn't really have a whole lot of apps available.